Because they were like, they're like, we can talk about it now, we were over wine. Okay.
Somebody
Over wine, because they said,
You need a lot of wine.
his safety score was belonged to Vermont, and he didn't get in there. And he got into Colby. I mean, it's just like, what, it's like, everything is flipped upside down, you know? Isn't that weird? It's
Awful.
yeah,
Not only here, but
everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. All my friends that are, UC, Cal State, they're just like, what?
Harvard Wesleyan,
Yeah. I think the colleges have wait lists that are like this long, because I think they're just protecting their yield. I truly believe that. I think if they're not like totally sure you'll come, they would rather wait list you, and then, come back to you when they have to, rather than have you say no, I really think that played into it a lot.
Too many applications.
Yeah, too many applications, yeah.
Made it so easy to apply.
Yeah.
Have your kids decided where they're going?
Cambridge's going away somewhere.
Oh, that's
She had to
right.
commit.
He's going to West
Yeah,
Alan did, Simon did early to, property.
yeah, yeah.
Really? That's interesting. Really gonna get some weather.
Has he ever lived in weather, or?
No, I know, he's like,
No, he's visited one, but,
I've never had weather. So what is
no hat.
Oh, we're okay. Not my first weekend. I came to another basketball this weekend to introduce you to them. But your arm's small, right? We have the presidential Bring it.
Okay. You want to
Yes, I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna close the door. So we have like some great pictures to share with you today from Walkathon and also from prom, but Jane's gonna get us started with this Walkathon video that she put together. Just press the space bar. Yeah. There's no sound, it's okay. Oh. I think Will said the final count was 220 participants and a really great day. We got the most amazing April weather. Just, you know, you can see people were walking. We didn't get the ones who came aquatically. I know we had a group that kayaked and paddleboarded. And also some runners that literally got there before we even got there to set up. So they really, I mean, all the kids were having a great time. This year we added the Kona Ice Shape Ice machine, which was amazing. That truck came and there was a line the entire 2 hours that they were there. So that's a fun addition that we made. And then we're still tallying the results, but I mean, we've had a really great turnout in terms of parent volunteers. Thank you to all the parents who volunteered and provided donations and desserts. As you can see, the sweet treats were in abundance that day, and then everything was gone by the end of the day. So I think we probably had like over 1,000 individual treats, and everything was gone by the end of the day. So it was a really wonderful day. And I think Will and I were going to tally everything, and by Parents Weekend we'll have more the numerics, you know, like how many thousands of dollars we raised, and then also what it's going to go towards. So previous years they've taken the money and done a pajama party at Transition House for some of the children there, and so some kids who volunteer there frequently got to participate in that. In other years, they've taken the men who live in Stevens House down to Ventura, and they took them shopping. So they went to Barnes & Noble, and the men were able to get books and CDs, and kids accompanied them, and so they each had a little shopping partner, and they walked around the stores with them down there. And I mean, to this day, when I've been at Stevens House one time, and I went and a couple of the guys showed me the things that they purchased, you know, when they went shopping with Kate students. So these things are very impactful to our organizations. Kate students enjoy, interacting with the community in this way. So I'm really glad that we're able to do this through the Walkathon and all the proceeds that we're going to raise. So thank you all very much for your participation. And thanks to you and Deborah for chairing the committee. I really appreciate you guys' leadership in doing that. It is a super fun event. I think it went really well. And my daughter participates in the community service here, and it's been, it was a big relief to me that she's able to still kind of do those things here at school, and that those opportunities are available. To see not just what's happening here and how you can be useful to this small community, but to think about how you might be useful to the community at large. So I think it's a great program. And sometimes we forget that Walkathon is a separate fundraising thing from the rest of the things we do, but that's really its own pot. So,
Right.
So thanks to everyone who supported that.
Sorry, one more thing I did forget. The
funds also go towards financial aid for kids that want to do Los Niños. So that's a really big portion of where that goes. So that's a really important thing that makes Los Niños accessible to every K student who wants to do it. So that's a really wonderful outcome of that as well. So we got to mention that.
Thank you, Jane. So some of you know, especially parents of seniors, prom was this past Saturday. Our prom committee did a great job of putting on that event along with the students activities committee and the student prom committee that put that on. I heard great things about it, and I don't know who participated. Do you want to talk about it? And if you don't mind, I'll just play the slideshow in the background.
Yeah,
so people can
great.
see the pictures.
So, our wonderful co-chairs, Tracy Reeve and Melinda Dexter, have been working on prom, believe it or not, for a year. So this time last year, I think they had their venue secured.
Right.
So it's been a labor of love, and I know they enjoyed it thoroughly. It was a real gift to the school and to the seniors. So I'll just give you a little recap. An evening in paradise, Cape class of 2018. The prom was held at the Santa Barbara Yacht Club. The committee had fun working with the faculty advisor, who was Charlotte Brownlee, and the incredible senior prom committee. The theme was tropical, and the committee came up with the great ideas that they were able to incorporate. And on Saturday, there was a lot of phenomenal moms who helped set up. Patty McFarland, Rebecca August, Haley Jessup, and Sydney McCullers. Also, Suzanne Deerdorf, the prom head for next year, came to see what we had planned and got great ideas for next year's prom. Charlotte Brownlee was at the event. The prom parents left, so of course there were no parents were welcome the night. But Charlotte was there, and this was her update of the evening. She said, from the hula greeting as students arrived at Santa Barbara Yacht Club to the gorgeous views of the mountains and ocean, the class of 2018 enjoyed a balmy and beautiful prom evening. The evening started with lots of photo ops and delicious appetizers. The large-scale Jenga game was a particular hit throughout the evening. And dinner was plentiful, with beef skewers, teriyaki chicken, and sticky rice, which all were terrific. The DJ accommodated lots of requests, and even Mr. Williams made it out on the dance floor. And a side note, I did hear that there was so much dancing that the dance floor broke. So I think that is a sign of a very successful evening. When the music wrapped up at 10 o'clock, the kids were ready to go, and after changing at the yacht club, the seniors headed out to golf and stuff. Pizza was waiting for them at their arrival, and the much-needed fuel gave the group a second wind. Laser tag, go-karts, and the arcade games kept everyone engaged, and it wasn't until 2 a.m. that the crowd was ready to head home. Truly a fun and lovely evening. So I spoke to a lot of the kids, Will and his friends, who just said it was a tremendous success. So on behalf of the senior class, I want to thank Tracy and Melinda for all your
Thanks. And Charlotte is going to give us kind of an update on what's been going on around campus and also some information about the graduation weekend that's coming up. But if you don't mind, I'll just let
Keep it rolling. Actually, it's so funny. I was like a bit of a spy in the prom, I have to say. And it was funny when they asked me to be the class advisor back in freshman year, I said to Charlie, you know this means I'm going to go to your prom, right? And he said, it's okay, Mom, it's okay. And then a couple weeks before prom, my husband said to Charlie, well, can I come too? And he's like, no. That's too much. So, anyways, it was great to be there. Gosh, I don't know if you all feel this way. Someone said this to me the other day, that it feels like it was just Thanksgiving and all of a sudden now it's graduation. Like what happened? And we know a lot has happened, but it really feels like we're cramming everything we can into every second of these last couple weeks. Yesterday was really fun. We had our presidential debates. There's quite a heated contest for student body president. 6 kids running, each with fully formed teams of 2 with their vice president, which I don't ever recall, at least in the last 15 years, that many candidates. So it's kind of exciting to see there's that much enthusiasm for the role, so that was fun.
These juniors.
These juniors are great. It's actually not a huge class either. It's kind of a smaller class in the grand scheme of things. The seniors are, a lot of them are on college trips. People were asking where we stand with college, but actually it's really going to be until probably come down to May 1st, which is the deadline they have to let colleges know by. So one of my advisees was just saying there were 8 kids missing from this class this morning because they're all looking at classes right now, looking at schools. So that's exciting. There's also, right now we're in the middle of a Round Square conference. We have 5 kids and 2 faculty members are back in North Carolina at the Americas Regional Conference for a week, which is really fun, a consortium of Round Square schools from all over the Americas. So, you know, I guess Argentina all the way up to Canada go to that, so that's exciting. I should put a little shout out too. We also have 2 Round Square exchange students with us right now, one from South Africa and the other from Columbia, thank you. And they are actually living with day student family homes. So that's kind of a nice way that families have been able to get engaged with Round Square, and also it allowed us, when we have full dorms, to bring kids in. So that's been great. So thank you to that, and be sure to, if you're interested in hosting ever, tell the homes, that'd be great. We're heading right into Family Weekend next weekend, so you know about that. Today was, I think, the last day to sign up for conference times.
Monday.
Monday.
I'm watching my calendar.
You're good. I would put in a little plug. We're doing something different. Right now the school is in the middle of a self-assessment on how we do with inclusion and multiculturalism. And we are going to hold parent sessions. We've already held kind of subjective open sessions with kids, and we're going to do it with faculty and staff as well. But we're going to hold them with parents to just ask questions around how we do as a community in terms of our inclusion. And after we do that subjective, kind of just open-ended assessment, we'll also take a survey, and then we'll make some recommendations basically to ourselves for what we could do better. So those are on Saturday at 2 p.m. here in the schoolhouse classroom. So definitely encourage you and encourage your other parents you run into to come and participate. It's kind of a fun way to give feedback. I would also put in a plug for the junior college meetings that College Counseling is doing. I've seen sophomore parents show up at those as well, and you're of course totally welcome. But there's a really great session on college counseling and then also one on financial aid, so both really worthwhile. So we've had other things that have happened. I know people have asked about Ben Shapiro. We had a convocation on Monday where Ben Shapiro came and spoke. It was highly, a lot of debate around the topic of him coming to talk, and I think our kids really showed themselves to be extraordinary people. I think the kids actually had an easier time of it than the faculty probably did. But they did some really amazing things. They met in groups ahead of time. They worked with the El Batador editors to formulate really great questions. And I think after the big session in the theater, there was a small session here in the Johnson Library, which ended up having 100 kids. And that was, I think, probably where they really demonstrated both their debate skills and their questioning skills. And so while it was hard, it was certainly a challenge for the community, I think, generally speaking, to be, just because there were such feelings on both extremes of pro and con for him. I think our kids rose to the occasion to show us to be the really thoughtful kids that they are. It's pretty amazing, actually. A couple other things. We had a big board meeting. I do want to mention that we just celebrated Ben's 20th, so we'll put some stuff about that out later, but that was an exciting thing for him. And we did vote to break ground on the dining commons. So in June this year, assuming everything goes through with the county and our permitting, we're going to start the construction on the new dining commons. So that's exciting. It's only going to take about a year. So for those of you who have children who are sophomores and freshmen, you'll get to experience that. And then finally, one other just a little fundraising thing, I should say, the senior class fund just passed $1 million, so that's very exciting. Really happy about that. It's an endowment fund that we support that. And the Kate Fund is also well on its way, so we're hoping to close that out in the end of June, above our $2.2 million goal. And then lastly, at Parents Weekend, we are going to have the firefighters come. We did the March Magic Challenge, which is the competition usually between Kate and Thatcher, but we worked together this year. And as you probably know, we got to 78% participation by our 10-year out alumni. And so as a result, we're going to give a check for $25,000 to the Santa Barbara Firefighters Alliance. And it's actually going to get split between the County Alliance and the Carpinteria Summerland office or whatever. So they'll be on hand at family weekend to see that. So that's kind of what's going on. I know you're going to hear from Lisa later about the new schedule. That is another really big project, and it's definitely exciting to see that roll out. So happy to answer any questions anyone has. All right.
Thanks, Charlotte. Let's see. And then Lisa is coming to talk about the block schedule next year, but she's coming from something else, so we'll just skip her until she gets here and circle back. Danielle is here. Yeah, there you are. Hi.
So Gabe Brown and I chair the Faculty Appreciation Committee, and we have our last event coming up in a couple weeks, which is the Cinco de Mayo lunch, which will be on the admissions patio. And it's a very fun event because almost all the faculty and staff who want to come can make it since it's during the day. And Gabe has arranged again for there to be a mariachi band, so it will be very lively. A terrific restaurant in Santa Barbara, Viva Taco, will be catering most of the food. And we also need some donations of drinks if any of the parents want to bring drinks up that morning. Also, I still have a few volunteer spots left for either set up and part serving or part serving and cleanup. So I'm going to pass around a sheet. But I know we all feel especially grateful to the faculty and staff for all the extra things they did this year. So if you'd like to help, we'd be really happy to have you. It should be a fun afternoon. It's actually on Friday, May 4th, the day before Cinco de Mayo.
So are you going to pass the clipboard?
Yeah.
No? Okay,
Any questions about that?
Is it lunchtime or dinner?
It's lunchtime. So 11 to 1 is when we're serving.
Yeah, and I put that date also on the agenda if somebody wants to pick up. It's got some dates on there for when that's happening in these other events, and also emails to contact Danielle or anybody else related to these projects. So,
What kind of drinks would you prefer?
Like, bottled waters,
Yeah.
light things, probably. It's probably what people prefer most. And just on a side note, the owner of Viva Taco, who my husband knows personally, he lost his house in the Ventura fire. So we thought it would be nice to give the business to them because we're trying to support local vendors that have been through a tough time. Thanks.
thank you, Danielle. Okay, next up we have Susan to talk about what the parent reps are up to.
So we have one final event for the end of the year class party, and it's going to be really exciting this year because we're going to try a new format. So we're going to bring, so thank you, Jessica, so much for hosting the senior class. So the seniors are going to be going to the Bowling residence for their class party. The 9th, 10th, and 11th graders will be staying on campus, and we're going to have an end of the year carnival themed party. And I wanted to warn Ben because we are bringing in a duck tank.
Yeah, so okay, maybe we should
Invite them, right?
And so some of your faculty might want to make sure that we're not on campus. Fair warning here. So we are looking for volunteers. We need some help with setups and cleanup and to man some of the stations. We'll be having an end of the year, at the end of this meeting, we'll be getting together to finalize some details. The party will be on May 23rd from 4 to 6 on campus. So please save that date, and it'll be fun to just come and watch your kids have a lot of fun. So if you have any questions, please contact me, and thank you very much.
And then also for senior parents, we have one last little goodie project for them. We have class of 2018, right? 2018 mugs to give them, and we're going to put treats in there and deliver one last project for the seniors. So if anyone's interested in participating in that project, please let me know. We'll get together and do that one thing. I already have the mugs, so we're just going to have fun getting them ready and then going to the seniors and giving them one last treat from us. So that will be really fun if anybody wants to participate in that. And one thing I'm thinking is about how like Ben can really fill a lot of space with his talking. Right, so we are running very fast. I hope Lisa Holmes gets here soon to tell us about the blog schedule. But Marianne, we're having a blood drive today, as many of you I'm sure are aware. And Marianne's going to tell us a little bit about the planning process for that, and also who it benefits and how that's organized.
Okay,
Thank
I'm not sure
you.
that's what I'm gonna
Okay,
talk about.
that's what I'm curious about.
I know, well, you asked me how long Kate has been doing this, I have no idea. This
Uh-huh.
is my 4th year being involved, and Mercedes Eichholz had asked me to participate. And it's a pretty fun event in the sense that, you know, it's the Kate mission of Servans. Last year we had about 40 people donate blood. I'm hoping we have more this year. There were some people knocked out last year who wanted to donate because of the Zika issue. So it'd be great if you can come by and donate blood. It's going from 2 to 6:30. There's a questionnaire you can look at to see if you're eligible. The blood that's collected goes into the local community needs. And you know, most of us think, oh, you know, a car accident, or that's where the blood goes. But actually, most of the blood is separated into component parts, and it's used for people who are being treated for cancer, all kinds of smaller issues, orthopedic surgery, if your child has had, you know, sadly, I see people driving around in their little carts on campus. So all those people need our assistance, and there's no way to manufacture these blood parts that are necessary. So we really need people to step up and donate if they can. I actually started doing this because I have something called pernicious anemia, and I have to occasionally get infusions. So I can't give blood, and I really appreciate when everybody else can step up and help out with that. Thanks to everyone who donated some baked goods, and we'll be setting up after the room parent talk, after the meeting. So,
Questions about
most
that?
of the questions?
Yeah, does anybody have questions about blood drive?
But if you remind me about the rules for kids, how old you have to be and.
Yeah, you have to be 16 or up, and if you're 16 or 17, your parent can sign a permission slip for you to bring, which we distributed on the general a number of times, so hopefully kids got to their parents. If they're 18 or older, they can donate without any other requirements. And it is a little bit of a time-consuming process, so if you come right at 2, there won't be many people there yet. Most of the students come after sports time, so that's when it gets a little busier.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, I
everybody.
appreciate it, Marianne.
Sorry,
I do want to say, like, my older son participated in the blood drive, I guess last year when he did it, and gave blood and gave platelets, which I didn't even know was a thing, pretty amazing. And I was so proud to see him doing that. And it also just occurred to me at that time that it just sets up that, it normalizes that experience, even if they don't give blood or they're too young or they don't have time to do it this time. Even just seeing that happen in their school and seeing their peers do it makes them so much more likely to consider it as a possibility for themselves in the future. So I was really excited that Kate hosts those things. I think even when our kids don't necessarily participate in each of the programs that are offered here, even just seeing that they're available and that their peers are participating in them makes them more likely to consider that as a possibility for themselves later on. So thank you for having that here. I appreciate it. And that's most of our CPO business. So Lisa, I'm excited you're here to talk about the block schedule, which has been, everyone's been talking about it coming, and I know we received an email about how it's going to work, but Lisa's going to give us a little bit more details and answer questions. Do you want to get into this? I can get out.
So while Charlotte's bringing that up, thanks for having me, and
I just want to say this process has been one that is very interesting, and it's a lot more time consuming than we ever realized. And we're down a path with the schedule for about a year and a half, and had this very intense faculty meeting where it became clear that it wasn't the right schedule for us. And so a year and a half of work, we pulled the plug on the schedule that relatively late because we just didn't have faculty support and buy-in. So we went back to that schedule, tried to pull out the principles we thought were really important, and then we redesigned, which I think is how it works. You try something, and the users have to believe in it, right? And the faculty did not believe in it. So it was a good exercise actually to go back through what we really wanted out of our new schedule. And just some of this came out of discussions about inquiry and having classes that allowed students time to reflect and think and share ideas. Right now our 45-minute classes, what I experience as a teacher is at about 42 minutes I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've got 10 more things I want to talk about, so I can talk as fast as I can for 3 minutes, or I can just choose one or two really important things. And most of it, my experience is that we're often cutting off student thinking and student reflection. That reflection piece is what gets short-circuited in our schedules. So after kind of a long process of exploring the first iteration, realizing it was not the right schedule, we came back to our priorities and decided collectively as a full faculty and then in department chairs meeting that we wanted a schedule that had fewer classes per day. Right now we have 45-minute classes with a 5-minute break. We have these flex blocks at various points in the day, but we're doing a lot of stopping and starting in the day, which is pretty inefficient. We wanted longer blocks. We explored everything from 60 to 80-minute blocks and arrived at 65-minute blocks with a little bit more flexibility. We felt we needed more time in the classroom with students. The sense that we had, even though we're a residential school and a lot of wonderful things happen after 3 o'clock on the sports field and in the dormitories, and our meetings with students on outings week. We have all these ways in which we engage with students, but that some really powerful experiences happen when we're in a classroom with students. That time together in the confines of the classroom, those little small classes, were valuable, and that we didn't have enough of it. And lab sciences really felt this, that they were trying to accomplish a lot and offer a really rigorous science experience for our students, and that we had gone away from the AP in part because we felt it didn't go deep enough, that if we were going to do that we needed more time with kids. So we were looking at a schedule that would increase class hours over the year. We agreed, we all liked community time, that we didn't want to get rid of assembly, advisory breakfast, Tuesday talks, that those were, whatever we did, those had to stay. They were really central to who we were as a school. Right now we have time set aside for departments, for full faculty meetings, as well as collaborative time with faculty work groups. We felt we really needed that. And we needed time to meet one-on-one with students, whether college counselors or our counselors or as advisors or as students. We needed time in the day where both students and faculty are free. And so those were our priorities. And I was looking back at my emails and the schedules. I have this big folder about the schedule, and I think on November 1st I had a draft that said, "This is the final draft, this is it." And then it took to the faculty, and it was not the final draft. And then I did another one in December, and the schedule even wrote, final. Not it. So we actually have a Monday deadline to get our schedule to Veracross, that actually designed the software that defines this. So this is. But I presented it to, I put an email out that said it was the final schedule before I met with, or did a presentation at Assembly, and even within the 10 minutes before I presented it, there was a comment about it that made a change, so. This is it, this is final, right? The next one you're gonna see. So just some elements of the schedule. We have 107 or 113 hours of class time over a year. Right now, in our current schedule, we have about 99. Okay, so that gives you a sense of how much class time is increasing. We talk a lot about Saturdays, about whether or not they're effective classes, good use of time. There's wide-ranging feelings about that we should get rid of Saturday classes because kids need rest, that we should have class all day on Saturday because kids need structure, that we should have Saturdays every weekend, but have them stop at noon. You know, we're kind of all over the map as a faculty on this, but the students don't share that. And the other piece that we're struggling with, which we did not, when I came here 17 years ago, we were pretty clear with families when they came in that this was not really a great place for you if you were a club athlete. Right? If you played volleyball like Riley does, or you played club soccer, or you were involved in really intensive theater program off campus, or not this, that we were really about what would happen here. And the landscape's changed a lot for families and for students, and so we tell families in the admissions office, we'll work with you. You want to play club soccer, you want to play club volleyball, you have a passion in this particular area, we will work with you. But that makes Saturdays really challenging. So students come to me to sign forms for club soccer, and this tends to be sports, but there are other really valuable endeavors that students want to engage in, and we want to support them in that. Also, our program has expanded. We have Round Square. We've got kids out right now on a Round Square trip. We have a Model UN program that is sometimes conflicts with Saturday classes. So we're in the process of thinking about Saturdays. One thing that we did finally feel like is that we wanted a program on at least every other Saturday, some kind of program. And with a new schedule, it probably was not really the time to also redesign Saturdays. So we are going to stay with Saturday classes, and we are going to explore best uses of Saturdays in the next year. You'll see something called an M block on the schedule, and that is and you've seen this right in the email, but I just want to go through it. An M block is a time that is unconflicted for performing arts, and a limited set of other uses, particularly lab sciences. And we worked really hard to make sure that performing arts and lab sciences didn't conflict with each other. So if you want to sing and you want to be in advanced bio, we're going to make that happen. And I looked at probably hundreds of schedules from other schools, and that's a real challenge, that often science and the arts are really in conflict. So we, in fact, all those changes to the schedules, from the final schedule to the final schedule to the real final schedule last week, really involved trying to minimize conflict between the arts and the sciences. And we also have these weeks that you're well aware of where we come back to school on a Tuesday, or we have PSATs on a Wednesday, or we have Public Service Day, we have Martin Luther King Day, right? We have these weeks that are just 4-day weeks, and it creates this imbalance of schedules. So if I teach 2 sections of U.S. history, one section might have 4 class meetings that week, but another might have 3. So we do have a 4-week schedule, which I'm not a 4-day version of the schedule, which I'm not actually going to go into, but just know that some weeks we will be using a different schedule to create some regularity of class meetings, just for teacher planning, because it's really frustrating when you're working with 2 sections of the same course and one gets extra class meetings. And those add up over the year. One year I was teaching 2 sections and one class had 4 more meetings than the other class, and that does make a difference in the kind of program you can offer. And that 4-day schedule, interestingly, is basically what we have today. We have shortened version. It's a quicker day. It allows us and so I say to the kids, like, you're gonna miss the old schedule, well, you get to experience it every once in a while. And then you have to compare what it feels like to change every 45 minutes. All right, next slide is, so this is the schedule we arrived on. We really tried to think about following long days with shorter days. This is even not correct, because this E-block now is first period instead of a late start. We had a late start on the books for a while, but the dorm faculty felt like it was problematic for them to have some kids sleep in and other kids have labs. And so this actually in the schedule that's going to Veracross, the E-block is first, but then there's a big study block in the morning so that students don't have to make the choice at 11 o'clock at night. Like my son sometimes has to, I still have a whole subject to prepare for. This way you can prepare for a class and then you get some time. And you'll see that these M blocks, right now we have this frantic lunch experience where you get 25 minutes. And if you've ever tried to get in the lunch line at 11:50 or 12:10, you better have your elbows out and be ready to move. And we know how to do it now. There's a lot, it's not healthy, right? It's not a good way to experience lunch. And it's probably a good life skill to know how to get through lunch. It's not really what we want. The experience, or the community experience, because there's some really wonderful conversations that happen at lunch, right? And we rush through those. So we wanted a longer lunch, we wanted space and time to reflect, we wanted department meetings a little bit later in the day. Now our department meetings are here, and we felt like that's prime teaching time for all the faculty to stop and have a meeting and all the kids to be kind of free. It made a lot more sense to have that happen after lunch, to allow, and then just one class after lunch. Classes after lunch are, they're not great in terms of productivity, and so that design it's much easier to do on an S week because we have more flexibility. We stretch out that week. N weeks remain a problem. I sent this out to the kids and I asked them for feedback, and they all said, not all of them, but a lot of them said, you got to do something about Mondays. And you have this experience as parents where they go to school all day, they've got sports, they change their clothes, they eat dinner, they go to convocation, pick them up, they get home at 8:30, and then they've got all this work to do, right? So we are talking, I don't have a solution to that yet, but we are talking about it. I think we've solved it pretty well for the S weeks because there's a break here and a break in the morning, there'll be a break in the morning. We haven't solved it for N weeks, and so we need to think about that, especially since we asked students what they thought. We have to respond to that feedback. That was probably the most dramatic and pointed criticism that we got from students, we received from students.
About the end, so if you aren't doing performing arts or in a lab, then is that just a free period for everybody else?
And if you're in performing arts, you would not be meeting in every M block. I'll show you a schedule. This might be the whole choir and the whole orchestra, but this might just be boys. And this might just be the girls, and this might be section leaders. So that way our scheduler can say, okay, you want to be in advanced bio, we're going to put your lab here and your section here, right? Or we're going to find ways, and he's really going to start the schedule with the advanced science list and the performing arts list and schedule it so that there are ways to do both. Like the worst case scenario is a student has advanced bio and then has something here, and in that case, and we're a small enough school that we can say to Beth Kaler, could you let Charlie out at 10 minutes early so that he can have more transition time. So I think, who knows, we'll just have to see But I think it's a more manageable schedule for both the advanced science students and the arts, and we don't want students to have to choose between those two. We feel really important. We feel it's really important that they not choose. We also, we have a more significant art requirement than pretty much any school. We require students to take the foundation course and the sophomore year course and a course in the upper school. And what we find is that that requirement, although students seem to kind of complain about it coming out of freshman year, they find areas in the arts that they really love. So my son has fallen in love with ceramics. He spends more time in the ceramics barn than, at least I think he does. But I don't think he would, I don't think he'd be as committed to it if he didn't know that that was what, and same thing with the performing arts. You've been to a concert, you know that you look up there on Sunday morning or Parents' Weekend, it's like half the school is up there. We want that. We want our kids to have that creative experience. We feel it's really essential.
Is there any talk of maybe making convocations just every other week? And so the not on.
Yeah, there is, or there's talk about maybe making sit-down, trying to find another time for sit-down dinner. Maybe we can have a convocation a little earlier. We don't have a solution yet. It's just really kind of initial stages, floating some different ideas. But that's, if you have ideas, that would, you experience it on that end, and we don't necessarily know.
This isn't so much scheduling, but my daughter said that for her, convo is really different now. They used to have dinner after, and they'd talk about the convo, and she would meet people from other classes. And now they have dinner, and they don't really have things to talk about, like all a shared experience.
And that's feedback we've gotten. One of the reasons we did that was that we'd have these convocation speakers, and kids would have a lot of questions, and they'd ask, and then the kitchen staff would be waiting with hot food ready to go, and we'd be 15 minutes late, and that's not really, wasn't considered of their work. So that's one of the reasons that we moved it. We've tried to create space for students to have meet and greets with the speakers after.
That's been great.
And so but I feel that too, as a participant in sit-down meals, that in a lot of times, I mean, we've had wonderful speakers this year, very thought-provoking, and we miss out on. I go to the meet and greet, but it's different than having a group of kids to talk about it.
So are there the same number of academic blocks as this year?
No. There are, well, yes, there are A through G, same number of blocks, but they only meet 3 times. Instead of they'll meet between 65 and 75 minutes, longer for labs, 3 times a week, instead of 45 minutes 4 times a week.
So it's no more likely that, say, you wanted to take an advanced Spanish class and an advanced math class, that you're going to have conflict. And the number of conflicts is probably the same.
It's the same.
Oh, I was just gonna, I'm sure you've already talked about this, but it seems like one of the main problems with the end Monday is that you have a lot of homework. I mean, it's basically getting the homework in. Have you talked about just saying that teachers need to just go light on homework, or that it should be a no homework evening, or?
We haven't gone to the no homework.
Not no homework. I'm sure the kids would love that.
We do feel pretty good about the S weeks, that this M block, a lot of kids will have free. That study lab is actually going to be here, so it's longer, and the E block is going to go in the morning. So students really will be able to get a lot of work done. They'll have class, study block, class, long lunch class, so the homework will be manageable.
Right.
This one is, it's.
I don't know.
But I think we have to talk about how to manage that, because one objective of this schedule was to make sure that students had less to do. So they come home and they have 3 to 4 classes to prepare for at the very most, sometimes as few as 2, and that's a healthier, and we know, we've looked at the research on homework. We know that a lot of homework does not necessarily mean effective homework. So we had a speaker come in from the Stanford Ed School in March to talk to us about research around homework. So we're working to improve our practice. The other thing that the use of longer blocks, one of the things that's been revealed in this research is that homework is more effective if it's started in class. So students have 10 minutes at the beginning of class to start their math, have time to ask questions, because a lot of homework gets derailed by confusion. I don't understand the directions, or I'm tripped up on this one step. And so if teachers can start or end their 65-minute class with 10 minutes of, let's start the homework, let's start the reading, let's make sure you know what you're doing and you're on the right track. And we have, some of these classes have some breaks after. We think that will alleviate some of the stress around homework. So let me show you I have some student schedules here. Sample. So we have lots of grade levels represented in this room, so I'll just show you. This is I took my advisees. This is Jack Redboard, who's a senior, and I chose him in part because I didn't think he'd mind me showing the schedule. Also, he's in 2 advanced sciences, so his schedule, you can see, he's actually got a really nice Monday. He's just got 2 classes. He's got long blocks, a little heavier on the end Mondays, but not too bad. He's got this, these big block, these big lab times. So that goes from 10:55 to 12:35. That's a long lab. And remember that our schedule, seniors have the most free time. We trust them to use their time well, and we also ask a lot of them, right? Jack's not a TA, but a lot of our seniors are. He's really involved in the Tuesday Talk program, so he uses a fair amount of his time working on that leadership role. Any questions about this? It's just as you look at it, it's hard to...
So he's not taking an art, is that how come he has 2?
He's actually not taking an art this year. He took, he fulfilled his art requirement at the end of his junior year, so, and actually it would, let's say he was in advanced ceramics, he would maybe have these 2, C and C filled, or, C and C, so he'd have a couple more, but he chose to go really heavy on advanced sciences in the senior year, and
So Lisa, if you're taking an art, it's 2 blocks per week versus 3.
Versus 3, yeah.
And if you're doing an independent study, because I've heard seniors doing that, is that scheduled in as a class, or is that something you just need to find time for in your free period?
Usually an independent study is done in conjunction with a sponsoring teacher. So when I've done independent studies, I get my schedule, and the student gets his or her schedule, and we sit down and we find common time.
So it's
It's a designated time. Sometimes I've had independent studies where I've worked with students in the evening, on nights when I'm on duty, or because it's just better for my schedule or the student's schedule. Okay, let's go down. The junior schedule. Juniors are intense years. Here's let's see, this is, so this student is in photo. You can see here. So photo meets, he's got D block free, but he has photo on Wednesday, Friday. The other thing about Saturdays is we didn't want to increase the class time for Saturdays that we have now, but we wanted to make it meaningful, so that's why we have 2 classes. And we have this study lab, this 15-minute block that can float. So once in a while we'll have Saturday speakers, or we'll have special events for alumni. We'll have big groups from the admissions office that require a lot of time from our tour guide. So that study block might move on some Saturdays. We were actually looking for ways to have a more flexible schedule. And one thing we also talked about is there are times when we want a long assembly, and we can move these blocks. We can swap those blocks.
Sorry, just to clarify, the Saturday classes, are they 45 minutes or 65 minutes?
They're all 65 minutes.
So it is more class time on Saturday than now.
Well, there are three
They're now
classes,
three.
there are three 45-minute classes, so we went
So
to
actually
two.
less.
We thought 3 65-minute classes, that might be all right. Okay, and actually, unfortunately, I didn't really think of this when I chose these schedules. None of these, the ninth grader is in performing arts. This is, whose schedule is this? This student is in ceramics, right, so that's the art. This is a sophomore, so sophomores also have the seminar class, so those seminar classes meet twice. And I think actually sophomore seminar next year is gonna meet twice in S week, but once in N weeks to give students a little bit more time.
Can you also say how the junior class is gonna schedule?
Yeah. The
The junior
juniors are
human.
going to, we go back up to the
Yeah.
junior, it's actually not in here. The juniors are gonna have a leadership class, one block, a week for one trimester. So that actually is going to be scheduled with their college counseling class. The juniors have a college counseling block, so that they'll use that block for some leadership and for college counseling. So that's how it will work. And then, let's go to the ninth grade, because you can see here, here's a ninth grader who's in chorale, and she will have chorale here and here, but these two free. She'll have them 2 times a week with some flexibility to go 3 or 4 times a week if it's in preparation for a concert. And you notice, and I think you experience this if you have a ninth grader, ninth graders don't have a lot of free time, right? I mean, look at that schedule, that's a lot going on, right? But not all of these classes are homework classes. So freshman seminar doesn't give homework, foundation arts, very minimal homework. And that's, you know, we don't feel that freshmen are at the point yet where they can handle lots of free time. And we don't actually want them in the dorms hanging out in their free time. We don't always want the seniors hanging out in their free time, but they have to learn to manage that. And I think it's consistent with what we do with the grade levels in the dorms. Freshmen have to have lights out at 10:30, and they have to ask to brush their teeth. They can't leave the dorm until 9 o'clock, and they can only leave the dorm if they have a very specific academic-related task. Sophomores have a little bit more flexibility. They don't have to ask to brush their teeth. They can come and go a little bit more in the dorm. Juniors get to stay up until 11 o'clock. Seniors don't even have study hours. So our schedule, our academic day is also designed with increasingly more freedom based on grade level. Questions? Yes?
So I'm wondering if you've considered, there's some subject matter, like foreign language,
Yes.
that where more
Yes.
consistent continuity
Yes.
might be.
Right,
more effective.
especially in the lower
Low
levels.
levels, right,
Yeah.
right.
And Linda Summers, who teaches Spanish 1 and 2, she's been very vocal about that. There's certainly a lot of research that supports that. Same thing with math.
Yeah. And so maybe a little bit of, well, something
Yeah,
to watch for.
we had a
little bit of
schedule where we actually had a lower school schedule and an upper school schedule. But that was hard to coordinate because we have sophomores in
Of course.
Spanish 3 honors, which is really an upper school class. We have freshmen, and so we weren't going to be able to do that. But one of the things that we hope is that the lower school teachers can identify students who need more support and can use some of that en bloc, and that maybe more time in those classes will be used for homework and preparation and support. But it's true, I mean, in a lot of ways, if this schedule was designed by the language department, it would look really different than the schedule designed by the science department, right? Or the schedule designed by the athletic department. One of the things we're really concerned about is we have games that start at 3:15, and students are gonna have to leave early, and with only 3 class meetings, that's gonna be a little bit more, it's gonna have a bigger impact.
I don't know what like the domino effect might be, but to have maybe a 45-minute class schedule every single day for the languages.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
maybe other classes, like 65-minute ones.
Yeah,
that-
and we did have a, one iteration of the schedule had the first 2 meetings of the day, 45-minute classes, and the last meetings of the day, 70, or the middle, I can't remember now. But the faculty really wanted more consistency. They didn't want to think, well, my A block is at 45 today, but my B block has a 70, and I'm going to really have to teach a totally different lesson based on that time. That didn't get a lot of traction with the faculty. The schedule we were on for a long time was a schedule that was you would take a full year course in 2 trimesters. So you were actually only taking 4 subjects at a time. It was a long block schedule, and you were going to do, all of calculus in 2 trimesters, or Spanish 1 in the winter, or the fall and the spring maybe. So there were going to be these breaks in between, and we were concerned about retention. We were concerned about just how the year felt too, in terms and. I think for a lot of us, the time that we spend with students in the classroom is so important for a foundational relationship that grows on outings week and when we coach them or when we're on duty in the dorm. But to have a kid for 2 trimesters and then potentially not see them again, it just didn't feel, it's such a personal education here, and that there was something impersonal about that for a lot of us. It just didn't feel right.
I know this is like a big, slow-moving ship, but what are some of your ideas about next year evaluating what's working and not working, and will there be likely changes made for the following year, or is it more long-term, the kind of feedback and changes that we can expect?
We're going to likely, I'm imagining we'll make changes for the next year.
Right,
Based on
your experience.
Based on our experience. And we have a group, we didn't really have a name for it. Somebody called it the pause committee, which I was really crazy about, but when we decided not to go with the first iteration of the schedule, so that group is going to get together at the end of the first trimester. There'll be a way to get feedback from students and faculty. And my guess is that we don't have it right exactly.
Right.
And that we're going to change it. I am very worried. I think of all the things that sort of keep me awake, it's the conflict with athletics that I'm most worried about, and the end Mondays. And I don't have a solution to that.
Are there, when you were looking to do the new schedule, did you all look at other schools and how they use their time,
Yes.
and other boarding schools and whatnot, when you factored in?
We did. We have a group of peer schools, and Charlotte has a better sense of where that list comes from, but there are 10 to 12 schools that we consider our peer schools. So we looked at schedules from our peer schools, and it was interesting to find out that a lot of our peer schools were in the process of changing their schedules too. And we also looked at, for a while, at some day schools that were doing this. The urban school in San Francisco does the full year course in 2 trimesters. Menlo just changed their schedule to a long block schedule that didn't go by the week. It was just day 1 through 7. So it wasn't like Monday through Friday schedule. It just kept going. And I think with some concern about having to constantly wonder, Is this day 6 or is it day 7? As opposed to, is it Monday or Tuesday or, that's the.
Marlboro does that, yeah.
Yes, yeah, a lot of schools do those things.
Crane does.
Great does it, okay, yep. John Swain, who's a great thinker, schedule thinker and design thinker, he had a schedule for a while that we were thinking about that was just day 1, day 2, A through D on day 1, and EFG, performing arts day 2, so it was just 1, 2, 1, so. But what the problem was when we got to Saturdays, that design had Saturdays as 1 or 2, so it goes to 2 o'clock, and that wasn't super popular.
Back to your, I share your concern a little bit about athletics. I do have a daughter who's going to be a senior playing varsity tennis, right? So this year, junior year was really impactful for her. It was difficult. So I'm imagining now, it's hard for me to imagine senior year, that first round, how she's going to manage that with so many classes. Has the athletics, did they try at all to reach out for those away games to see if they could be later or anything so that we wouldn't miss so many classes?
Yeah, we have a new league next year, a new athletic league again, and we're going to be scheduling those games. We actually have I don't know how we ended up with that privilege of being the hub for scheduling. So it's something that we're talking about. It's easier in the fall and in the spring. If you have lacrosse players, you know that games start at 4 o'clock sometimes. Winter's tough. I coach soccer, and at 5 o'clock in December, that's it. You can't play longer than that. So, yeah, one of the things that we looked at, you'll notice at the end of the day, we tried not to repeat the same letter at the end. Right now, girls play Tuesday, Thursday, and boys Monday, Wednesday. So we tried to make sure that the last period of the day on a Wednesday was not also the last period of the day on a Friday, or that only we had to double up on one class, having a end of the day. So in this version, G block is the end of the day on Tuesday, Friday, but we boys usually play Wednesday, Friday, girls Tuesday, Thursday, so the same kids wouldn't get hit in the same class. If that makes sense? Yeah. But it's not, it's a problem, and I talked to a friend, I have a friend who's the head of school at Menlo, and they have the benefit of not having, or not the benefit, but they don't have a sports requirement, so they're not dealing with as many students. And the other thing is that some schools can play night games. And we'll play games at 6 o'clock sometimes in the winter under the lights. And we can't have lights. We can't, I don't think our neighbors don't want it. No lights. No lights.
Well, let me ask you guys if you have any further questions to stay and talk to Lisa for a couple of minutes after the meeting. If you can stay, it's great to get a peek at the process. It really helps us have empathy for how complicated it really is for each individual student. It has a different situation, so thank you for spending all the time on that. I just want to make a couple of quick announcements, and then the kitchen did say they were going to hold the lunch out for us for a few minutes, so if anybody wants to get blood and needs to eat something first, or if you guys want to talk and eat while we talk about end-of-year class parties, you should run over there and get some lunch before they put it away. The last meeting of the year is next month. I put on here April, but it's May 19. And then family weekend, we're going to be having a reception again to kick off the weekend in Ben's front yard. We're going to have drinks and apps, so please come out and greet out-of-town parents and say hello and talk about what you do with the CPO and say hello to people. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we appreciate having you guys there. That's from 5:30 to 7:30, so come before you go out to dinner that night. And also, Tracy, who's going to be the CPO president next year, is going to be sending out an email soon about volunteer opportunities for next year, and there'll be a form attached to that. So please take a look at it, even if you have already talked with her about what you're going to be involved with. She's going to use those forms to help build a mailing list to tell you about events and keep you informed. So please take the time to fill that out and get it back to her. And thank you all for coming, and if you want to talk about parent reps,
Thank you.